on critical internal DNS infrastructure projects. During GSOC 2021, he took an app called Rocket Chat Poll and gave it a complete makeover, launching it as Poll Plus on their marketplace. But that's not all. He has done some impactful research. He built a deep learning model in Rishikesh Gangotri region, predicting the landslides with an amazing accuracy of 94%. And he also teamed up with our very own Tanmoy sir to write a research paper on forecasting COVID-19 trends in India. So yes, a perfect mix of real-world projects, research, and open source contributions. We are super excited to have him here with us today to share his journey and some amazing insight. Let us all give a warm welcome to Rohan sir. So please continue and take this session forward.
Thanks, Divya. Hey everyone, I'm Rohan Lekhwani. Let me share my screen. Okay. I hope my screen's visible. So so today we'll learn about how to get started with open source in the age of AI. So this one is going to be like I've designed this session to be more like a conversation. I don't want it to be like a monologue where I'm the only one blabbing on for an hour. So feel free to respond anytime. Maybe even if you want, like unmute your mic if you have an opinion to share. Or of course, like the chat box is open all the time. So yeah, basically this will be like an interactive session, and by the end of this hour, you'll learn a lot more than than you would have ever learned in any other session. So if you have friends or roommates who are sleeping on a Sunday, wake them up. It's gonna be good. Like you'll take a lot of things away from this. So let me start with a question. What is open source exactly? So in the chat box, like what is your perception as the AI department at NIT Surat? What do you guys think is open source? And there's like no right answer. Yeah, what do you guys think is open source? Just like a simple answer. Yeah, again, like feel free to unmute your mics or say something. Yeah, Ayush says an application whose source code I think is available freely. Okay. Contribution in real world. Okay, Damar says that. Modify source is available for anyone to modify, distribute. Yeah. So basically, in general, open source is software where you have the source code available, and there's this saying that open source is free as in not free as in it doesn't cost, but free as in free for the world to collaborate to write code. Okay, so let me explain open source with a contrast. So on your left is Microsoft's one of the biggest buildings in the world. It houses like 100,000, probably like 10,000 engineers. So let's say this is like a big tech company, okay? Microsoft, Google, Amazon. And what do they do, right? Like some of the most popular products, Android, Gmail, the cloud service provider, Azure, GitHub. So all of them are owned by some big tech company, right? Android is owned by Google, Gmail, Google, Azure is again Microsoft, GitHub, Microsoft, uh, Instagram, Meta. So
Okay.
so let's say you're an engineer at one of these companies. You have basically like a dual monitor setup. You get free food at these companies. Maybe you have yoga sessions, right? But what's common across all of these software is all of them are based on an open source component called Linux, the Linux kernel. So Linux is basically an operating system. So Linux powers all four of these applications across two different companies, right? Android, Gmail, Google, Azure, and GitHub are Microsoft. So if Microsoft's building is that big, how big do you think would be the Linux headquarters? So that's the Linux headquarters basically. It's just a single guy, Linus Torvalds, on his computer, standing desk, single monitor, not even a chair. Um, and he still commits codes, uh, answers comments, reviews other people's code, and it's just like a single desk. And that's the Linux headquarters. And this software basically runs all of the code in the world. Yeah, Vinant, I think, wants to say something. Okay. Yeah, Vinant, feel free to unmute your mic if you want to say something. I see you raised your hand. Yeah, Sadhana raised her hand. Okay. Yeah, no need to raise your hand. Just say anything. Guys, feel free. It's like just a conversational session. So feel free to speak anytime you want to share an opinion. Okay. But we've not reached to the crux of it. So there's no opinion. These are just facts. But feel free to share any opinion you guys have. Yeah. So basically, uh, Linus Torvalds built Git and Linux, and most of this empowers a lot of the big tech software that you use. So open source powers the world. So Android, which a lot of your phones have, is built using Linux. Gmail, so you send an email out from your computer, but what happens behind the scenes is Google has these servers located all around the world, in India as well, and that email goes to that server. That server processes it, and then let's say you're sending an email to somewhere. You're in Surat, you're sending it to someone in, let's say, Mumbai or Pune or Delhi. Then it goes to a server near to that place, and then it reaches your recipient. Similarly, Azure, you can spin up your VM instances which run Linux instances. And GitHub, the Git and GitHub is based on Git. So Git is again like a version control system. A version control system is nothing but a place where multiple people can collaborate on a single project. So usually what happens is, like, if three people are working on the same project, there is a chance that I write some code which erases all of your code from the past 3 months. So Git tries to prevent that, basically by the use of commits. So a fun fact here is that even though Linus Torvalds invented both, or started both, Git and Linux, he said, I named both of these products on my name. So Linux, you can see Linus Torvalds Linux, but how about Git? So there's a story that Linus Torvalds was working with an alternative GitHub called Bitbucket, and he sort of like had a disarray with them. So he was kind of fed up with them. So he left Bitbucket saying that I'll teach you guys a lesson, and he started Git. So Git is a derogatory term. It means an unpleasant man. So Linus Torvalds describes himself as an unpleasant man, so he named Git after himself. So that's like a fun fact. But yeah, that is what open source is. Maintained by a few good people, and it runs most of the big tech products that you use every day. So yeah, before we get started, I'd like to give some background on myself. Yeah, Divya already explained some points, but yeah, I wanted to also give a little bit background for a general work experience or what I've worked on. You can check out my LinkedIn, but this is more like what kind of questions I'll answer if you guys have any. So basically, I categorized it into things I know and things I don't know. So things I know and I'll be able to answer questions about is academics. So I started my bachelor's at IIIT Pune in computer science. I graduated ranked first in the department. I started writing open source code back in 2020. And since then, I've contributed to TensorFlow, Mozilla, PayPal, scikit-learn, Rocket Chat, OpenReview. In total, about 600,000 lines of code written by me alone. Then I came to the US here for my master's to the University of Massachusetts in Amherst. It is a top 20 school in the US for artificial intelligence. I can also answer questions about AI research if any of you are looking to get started with AI research. So currently, I have three papers, one of which with, of course, Tanmay sir, as Divya mentioned, and I was also the engineering lead for Alexa Prize. So Alexa Prize is like a global conversational AI competition. So basically, 10 teams from around the world are selected, and they improve Amazon's Alexa. So our bot was released to all US users of Alexa, and they could say, Alexa, let's chat. And our bot would come up and they would interact with it. So recently, Alexa Plus was introduced for Amazon Prime members. So Alexa Plus is based on um, a lot of our research from Alexa Price. And then, if some of you are interested in getting into FANG, I am currently a software engineer at Amazon in the Bay Area. I would also be happy to answer field any questions around getting into FANG. Yeah. So these are the things I can answer questions about. Now, things I don't know about. So C exist, but where's A and B right? Like, you've used C but have you guys ever wondered like where is A or B? Like, why is it called C? Right? There should be some reasoning. So no one knows. It's kind of controversial. People say there is some B language called BPCL, I think, and there was an A language, but yeah, no one's really sure about it. So if you guys have questions around that, you keep it to yourself. I don't know the answer to that either. So yeah, so continuing with this session, in this session, I have like two sorts of facets, I'll call it. One, I call it a pro AI tip. It is basically my advice to you guys based on my experience with all of the categories that I mentioned. In case you're wondering like what's AI about it, so I have observed like if you say AI, people listen to you more carefully. So it's not a pro tip, it's like a pro AI tip. Just so you guys listen more carefully, so I call it a pro AI tip. And second is predictions. So these are like my predictions for the future of AI. So another observation I've made is like some of your, since I'm assuming like most of you are like freshers or sophomores, so most of your biggest returns in life will come from betting on things that are not big currently but will become big in the future, right? So for example, Nvidia. So people who invested in Nvidia in 2020 are basically millionaires right now. So no one knew that in 2020 the stock is gonna go that big. But right now, I personally know people who invested in 2020 who are millionaires right now. So always bet on things which no one is noticing right now, but they have the potential to become big, right? So yeah, I'll be sharing some of my predictions in this session, which I think would become big, and maybe you guys can share your predictions as well. So why open source, right? Like why would you want to, why even care about open source, right? Like that's also our first pro AI tip. Always ask why before you do anything. Most people will not ask why, they'll just do what is said to them. Never do that, like ask why you're doing something. So why do you want to do open source? Like what's in it for you? uh, so in short, you will become like really good at technology. You will meet a lot of people and attract a lot of opportunities. So let's see how that looks like, right? So open source software is used by the world. So this is Rocket Chat is an organization. So if you guys have heard of Discord or Slack, or maybe simple for people who've not heard of this, like WhatsApp, let's say. So Rocket Chat is like an open source version of WhatsApp or an open source version of Discord or Slack. It's like a messaging app used by companies who don't want these big tech companies prevying in their data. So they use something called open source. You see the code, you know there's not something fishy going at the back, so they use it. So Rocket Chat is used by over 12 million users. including the World Bank, the US Navy, and Credit Suisse. It is one of the most starred repositories on GitHub. And I was my GSOC, my Google Summer of Code project was Rocket Chat. So out of 600,000 lines of code I've written, close to about 200,000 lines of code are for Rocket Chat, or maybe about 300,000 lines of code I've contributed to Rocket Chat. And a fun fact is Rocket Chat is so secure that not only the US Department of Defense uses it, even the ISIS organization in Syria uses it to plan their attacks. So it is so secure that it's used by both good people and bad people. Um, yeah, so you will work on software that is used by the world. And second is that most of the technology evolves here. So in short, like in the chat, have you guys heard of DeepSeek? Like what do you know about DeepSeek? It was really in the news recently. Yeah, you can feel free to unmute your mic, or you can also write in the chat. Anything's fine. Chinese open source AI model, right? So basically, that is correct. Yeah, DeepSeek was the Chinese open source AI model, but was that? Yeah, exactly. Sadhna says it's better than ChatGPT. So, what made it better than ChatGPT? Was it Chinese? Did that make it better? With less budget, yeah, that's true. But what one thing did DeepSeek introduce, which OpenAI has right now, but it didn't have it back then? I think around December. So I can tell you. So basically, it was reasoning. So earlier, uh, yeah, deep think. I used to say, yeah, deep think. That is true. So reasoning basically. So OpenAI, OpenAI and Anthropic had models where if you type something, hey, teach me how to make a cupcake, or hey, give me a poetry, it would just tell you directly, give you an answer. But with DeepSeek, what they did was they introduced reasoning. So let's say you ask DeepSeek, hey, what is the weather in Surat? So it will first think user is asking me for the weather. I need to query some APIs to get the weather, and then process what day is it. Give it to the API, get the result, then show the user. So basically, step by step, which is also called chain of thought in natural language processing. So doing this step by step kind of thing is called reasoning. Earlier models would just give you an answer when you ask them. DeepSeek would think before you before it would answer what the user wants. So right now, this reasoning has so advanced. So DeepSeek released the R1 model. Right now, it's on V3. But right now, it is so advanced that there is this demo video I'd like to show you. So this guy tells like, build me a timer app, and just with one sentence, DeepSeek is able to write out the entire HTML, JavaScript, CSS code, and you can watch it live as it builds a timer app. And this guy can just like interact with it, just say doing nothing, just to test it out. It works, and it does work. So that is what reasoning enabled AI models to do. So that was like a good revolution. But then we all saw DeepSeek was in the news, right? So why did it make waves? So basically, one of you said, I think Sachi Dananda said made with less budget. Yeah, but that's the question, right? Like, why did it make waves? Why OpenAI, Anthropic with billions of dollars of budget couldn't do which DeepSeek did with less than $5 million, just using few machines? Like, what was special in that? Like, why technology is same for everyone? So why do you guys think DeepSeek was able to do what OpenAI was not, with like maybe 1,000 times more budget? And this might be like more like a higher level concept. So it's okay if you guys don't know. Yeah, but yeah, feel free to write in the chat. I can go over it. So basically, again, a pro AI tip is yeah, reinforcement learning, right? That's one of the reasons. So again, a pro AI tip is like, right now AI is the hype. Every day you will hear that word. But then you should also, as AI students or as computer science students, you should also look what's under that hype, how DeepSeek was able to achieve, right? So, and how in India this can be achieved, right? China is like, there are people, right? And information is all open. So India can also build something like that, right? Doesn't need to be Chinese guys every time, right? So uh, that's the thing. So we need to look under the hype to know how things work. So I can go over quickly. So the first is reinforcement learning from scratch. As one of you said, their architecture was different. They use reinforcement learning. That is right. So earlier models, and I'll try to make it like as simple, like an ELI5, explain like I'm five, simplicity. So earlier models like OpenAI, Anthropic, these use something called supervised fine tuning. So basically, you show an image of a cat and you tell that this is a cat. You show an image of a dog and you say this is not a cat. So basically, you provide outputs with your inputs. That is supervised learning. So what DeepSeek did was it tried to learn reasoning from scratch using reinforcement learning. So what reinforcement learning does is I'll give you a point A and I'll give you a point B, and I'll tell you reach from point A to point B, but I'll not tell you how to move. AI will automatically move in all directions. I will reward it if it's moving in the correct direction, and I will give it a penalty if it's moving in the wrong direction. So because of this, it was able to learn reasoning. DeepSeek was able to learn reasoning. So in simple terms, OpenAI models were doing something which was called, like in Hindi, it's called Ratta Marna, rote learning, and DeepSeek did the actual learning, because of which it was able to give you a reason for its answer. Right, that was the first thing. Second is something called multi-head latent attention. So this is a little bit more complex, but it's like fairly understandable. So basically, AI started with this paper called "Attention is All You Need." Indian guy wrote that paper. So basically, it has three components: key, value, and query. So you see these little boxes at the bottom. So the Q is for query, K is for key, and V is for value. So what attention models do is, instead of previously, like you had recursion and convolution models, which would um, basically take all input at once, like in a sequence. So what attention models will do is, you give it the whole input sequence, let's say a character or sentence, and these models will just focus on a few of the words from within that sentence, which makes them better. So this was what was done in, I think, 2018. And DeepSeek guys came up with something new. They said that encoding the whole sentence, even the few words, is taking up a lot of space. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to compress this space into a smaller memory, right? Like like in matrices, there's something called ranks. So I'm going to factor this into a low rank matrix, and then when during inference, basically when someone calls the model, I'll decompress this. So compress it during training and decompress it during inference. So that resulted in their model being 5% of the size of OpenAI's model. So that's why it required lesser compute, right? Because essentially OpenAI during training and inference was using the same matrices, whereas DeepSeek compressed the matrices during training and decompressed it during inference. Okay, and the third is something called mixture of experts architecture. So mixture of experts is somewhere here. So what DeepSeek says is, okay, I have one big network. Let's say this is like a one big tree, and I have multiple branches within this tree. So these green ones and blue ones are multiple branches, and each of these branch is like a brain of its own. And you have like a router which will decide, okay, branch number 1, 2, and 3 should activate for a particular word. Let's say the particular word is a ball, so branch number 1, 2, 3 will activate for ball. And let's say the another word is apple, so branch number 2, 3, 4, 5 will activate for apple. So even though DeepSeek is like a 617 billion parameter model, in actuality not all of these are activated at once, only a subset of these, so like 37 billion of these. So that is why it is fast, it runs low, it runs on low compute, and it didn't cost as much. So that is like why DeepSeek made waves, and now of course like Meta is trying to replicate their research. But yeah, um, so moving on to back to why you want to do open source. So um, another reason is, apart from learning about technologies like DeepSeek and Rocket Chat, is you get mentorship, right? So on the left, if you see, this is one of my first open source PRs. It's in this organization called TensorFlow. TensorFlow is like a framework for machine learning models, and this was back in 2019. So I was basically where you guys are right now, like sophomore in 2019. And I just, this is like a very simple pull request. It just corrects a documentation, like a print statement. It just corrects the documentation for a print statement, not even the code, the documentation for a print statement. So this guy says, yeah, this, it looks good, it's good to go, let's get this in. So I said, okay, great. This guy's getting it in. His name is Alex something. So I looked this guy up. Who is this guy? And turns out he's like a research scientist at Google Brain. Is followed by like 500 people on GitHub. So that is the magic of open source. Even though I'm sitting there at that time in Pune, I went to Triple ID Pune. I'm sitting at Pune with my laptop. I'm able to get my pull request reviewed by a guy sitting in San Francisco who works at Google Brain, right? So, and if I'm regular enough, I form a relation with him, he mentors me, I get to go into Google Brain. I didn't do that but yeah, that is again like a possibility that can be done, right? So basically you get mentored by people who are like leagues above you, and you get to learn from them while you're still in your college just with a laptop, right? um, and another thing is referrals. So a tip is like, people will refer other people they know. And once I started contributing to open source, I got reached out by a lot of companies. So for example, Rocket Chat, where I contributed, they wanted to hire me. Razor Pay, it's a payment company in Bangalore. I think it facilitates a lot of payments. They reached out to me. I was called by a lot of startup founders who wanted me to work for them. So that is again like the power of open source. If you are a good open source developer, you don't need to do lead code, and you can write that, like I said, that like if you are a good open source developer, you don't need to do lead code. People will come and hire you. Okay, so you'll get a lot of referrals, and you will build something useful. So that is again another benefit of contributing in open source. So here's a prediction I have for the future. Like I said, continuously make predictions. Your life will get better. You'll know what to make the bet on. So here's a prediction. My prediction is that hiring is about to change. Recently, there was this guy who created software which will allow you to basically get answers in your Amazon, Google, Meta interviews. What basically you do is, let's say, as a like a recruiter, a software engineer, and an interview asks you a question. So this guy's software will basically use AI to understand that question, give you the answer to write the code, and it will overlay on your screen. And the guy on the other part, your interviewer, they won't be able to see that you are able to see the answer in its entirety. Okay, so this was recently launched like last month. It's become really popular. People have been cracking Meta, Amazon, Google interviews left and right. The people who know, and then even Amazon is trying to implement like spyware systems. But basically, in all, my prediction is hiring is about to change. Hiring through lead code will no longer be the norm. Hiring through open source projects, debugging will be the norm going ahead. So that is where I'm placing my bets, and I'd ask you to do the same. You can check out his website. It's called interviewcoder.co. um, yeah, basically it has a good headline on the front screen if you go there. Yeah, so the next part why you want to do open source is again for the money. So this is like a spreadsheet software. It's open source. So in the chat box, what do you guys think? How much in rupees or in dollars would this just a spreadsheet software be making in terms of revenue? Like, what's an estimate you guys think this spreadsheet software deserves in terms of rupees, dollars? per month, per year, anything? Like, what do you guys think? How much this software would be making? And any number is fine. You don't have to think too hard. It's completely like a conversational session. Don't like stress it out. Yeah, well, someone says 50 lakhs per month, 2 million USD. Okay. Also, maybe say like per month or per year. So that would be helpful. But let's say 2 million USD maybe per year. So this software makes 20 million per year. Okay. Someone says zero. No, this makes 20 million per year. So this software is called AG So um, this is used by a lot of the big tech companies. Again, like I said, open source is a small group of people who basically empower the whole big tech industry. So this is used by Uber, Netflix, Microsoft. My team at Amazon uses this software, so I know firsthand how useful this is. Um, so basically, yeah, if your open source software takes it up, maybe you could also earn that kind of a money, right? A second example is, you'll say like AG Grid has a team, but I'm solo, I'm in college, I don't have that many resources. So there's this other project called Fast API. So earlier Python had something called Flask and Django. These were like the main popular web server frameworks. But right now, Fast API is the most popular Python backend framework. So if you want to spin up a server, you use Fast API. It's really good. And this was started solo by a guy, and he was not even like from some rich country. He was from a country called Colombia, South America, known for like a lot of bad stuff. Uh, but even then, he started his own software, and it's really popular. And basically, he raised 7 million for his own company now. So, and he was given out like a lot of job offers and stuff. But that doesn't matter once you have raised 7 million. Yeah, so that can also help you even if you're solo. Just start something, build something, release it out on GitHub, and it will go somewhere, right? So now I think we know what value open source can provide. um, so now how to get started, right? So a very easy and like a guided way to get started is through programs. So you have multiple sorts of programs. I've categorized them into their domains. So you have all-rounder programs. The biggest program is called Google Summer of Code. It's sponsored by Google. Close to about 50,000 people apply every year. Just about 2% get in from around the world. It happens from February to September, but a good time to get started is in December. I started in October. So the earlier you start, the better. And it focuses on all sorts of projects, AI, anything, web dev, crypto. So that's why it's called all rounder. Then you have something called Outreachy. Outreachy is not just software, but maybe like design, marketing, UX. So all those sorts of, and Outreach is like more of an internship, not a program. So you can also look at that. Then you have Major League Hacking. Major League Hacking basically has um, three streams. One is software, one is SRE, which is site reliability engineer, like more like DevOps. And third is if you're interested in Bitcoin, crypto, they also have that track. That also happens all year round, 4 batches per year. And then you have FOSS Asia. So FOSS Asia is Singapore-based FOSS group. FOSS is free and open source software. They also have a few projects. A few popular ones are SUSE AI, Event EA, basically an event management platform. That also happens all year round. So if you are late for GSOC, which I think you are right now, unless you got in, you can apply to these other programs which are accepting applications right now. Then you have documentation based open source programs. So let's say you don't want to write code, you say I just want to write documentation. Take it easy. There's a program Google sponsors called Google Season of Docs, GSOD. That also happens in February. So everyone likes to write code, no one likes to write the documentation. So a lot of open source organizations really require these kinds of people who can understand code and then translate it into documentation for future engineers or for their users. So documentation is also a really important part. Now let's say you like DevOps, you like deploying things to the cloud, AWS, Azure, GCP. So Linux Foundation mentorship program, LFX, it also happens in spring, summer, and fall. So applications should be open right now. They also have projects like CNCF, basically, which maintains Kubernetes, PyTorch, the Linux thing, which we talked about uh, earlier. So you can also contribute to that. Then there's another async API mentorship program. This is based on event-driven architecture. So on backend, there is a concept called basically event-driven architecture. You send out an event and you receive a response. Backend side or DevOps side, that also opens in September. Then you have crypto and Web3. So summer of Bitcoin happens in February, mostly crypto Web3 related. So yeah, these are the programs that take place. So I think there's a question Ayush asks: isn't documentation task easily done by AI with 5% human assistance? Yeah, that is true. AI will help you write documentation, but you need to check if that's correct, because open source software is used by thousands and millions of people around the world. Accuracy is really important. You can use AI to write it, but then you want to make sure that it is really accurate. So yeah, but I'd say to the harder part, get into GSOC. That'll be better. Um, yeah, how much average experience we require to apply in GSOC? There is absolutely no experience. I've seen freshers getting into GSOC, and basically you can learn any technology within a week or two. Okay, if anyone tells you do this course for 3 months, they are fooling you. Any technology can be learned basic level. You can write a hello world in a week or two, and that I think is enough. GSOC expects most of its participants to be students and learners, new open source contributors. So that is totally fair game. That you, if you don't know a lot, just apply, just show proactiveness, build things, you will get in. Okay, I'll share more about GSOC. So all of the programs which I showed previously, they are paid programs. GSOC pays anywhere from $750 to up to $3,000, which translates to 2,60,000 rupees for maybe like 12 weeks of work to 3 months, depending on the size of your project. So it's a good way. Maybe don't do it for the money, do it for the learning, but it's still a good way to make money fast in college. And basically, you get paid to learn from experts in your field. It's a very good opportunity to do that. Right. So I think someone asked, do we need to make some prior projects or a good GitHub profile to pass a proposal? So you need to, I'll come to that later. The next slide is about that, in fact. So, so I showed a lot of programs, but I'll dive deep into the biggest of them, which is Google Summer of Code. Really popular, really prestigious. A lot of people aim for it every year. So pre-GSOC, what happens is organizations are announced around February. Students apply, and around April or May, students are selected. Okay, but like I said, you need to start December. Feb is when the organizations are announced. You need to again make a bet on which organizations will get selected and then start working with them. Similar to how students have a selection criteria, organizations also need to pass a bar so that they are selected for GSOC. So GSOC has these phases. Once you are into GSOC, you have a community bonding period where you interact with your mentors, with the community. You have a coding phase where you do the actual code. And then you have two evaluations. So first evaluation, your mentor will evaluate you based on the work done. If you are not good, I know people who were failed midway. So never settle once you are into GSOC or anywhere you reach, don't never settle. Once you settle, you fail. So even if you are into GSOC, keep working hard to get through it. It's not done yet. Okay. So evaluations one will decide whether you move on. Let's say you move on, coding phase two will begin. You code again based on the remainder of your proposal. Evaluations two will decide whether you pass the program. Once you pass the program, you get like a certificate and the money is transferred. right? But it's not that hard. Once getting in is the hard part. As long as you stick to what you said on your proposal and you are good at communication with your mentor, it is not hard. You don't need to worry about it. Okay, so the first step is like the most important, and there's like a pro AI tip to know what you want, right? Because there'll be like 100, probably like 100 organizations that apply to Google Summer of Code, and you need to know which organization I need to select. So 100 organizations, each organization has 5 to 10 projects, total close to 500 projects, right? 5 projects per organization, 100 organizations. So 500 projects you need to select. You need to filter. I need to work in AI this summer. Which organizations to select? So you need to do that. You need to know what you want first. Okay, so what I did was I wrote down what I want in my organization. So this is what I wrote down. This is back in 2021. So I said I want to work on web this summer. So I want an organization that works on web and JavaScript. I want that organization to be awarded multiple projects consistently. And I didn't want to take a chance where I'm working for 3 months and the organization doesn't get selected in GSOC. So I wanted to make sure organization gets selected every year. And then there are some organizations where the only work is done during GSOC. Rest of the year, no, zero contributions. The repository is inactive. I didn't want that. I wanted a repository which remains active on GitHub even after GSOC. And then I wanted a bigger organization. The benefit is that if Google doesn't sponsor your project, this organization will sponsor your project and list it under Google. So you want an organization with a good source of funding. So basically, I shortlisted to these 3 organizations. First organization is Circuitverse. Basically, 12th standard physics, right? You build like a circuit, you have a resistor, capacitor. So basically, these guys allow you to do that on the web interface. You basically drag and drop a resistor. You build a network, logic circuits. Then you have Cloud CV. Cloud CV allows you to scale machine learning models. And then finally, you have Rocket Chat, which is like an open source Slack. Out of these two, Rocket Chat was selected every year for the past 7 years with 10 plus projects. They had $23 million in funding, and their repositories were one of the most active on GitHub. So, like, that's like a hint for you guys. If you want to guarantee an org that will get selected next year, apply to Rocket Chat. They also got selected this year, by the way. They've been getting selected every year for the past, I think, 12 years or since when they started applying. So research well, know what you want before you put in the effort. Okay, that is very important. Like, decide where to put the effort before putting the effort. So once you've selected the organization, you start making contributions. So an easy way is just pick up their most popular repository. So in case of Rocket Chat, their repo is also called Rocket Chat. So Rocket Chat slash Rocket Chat. So each they'll have issues, and each of these issues will have a label. So the people at Rocket Chat know that there are new contributors wanting to get involved with the project. So they will label these issues as good first issue. Search for those in the search bar and then get started. Try to raise a PR. You will get mentorship. You will and don't ping people in like their personal chats. Communicate on GitHub within the comments for everyone to see. You will get mentorship. You will get that issue in, and you will make your first contribution. Okay, just search for this good first issue or beginner friendly, help needed. Those kinds of tags will get you those kinds of issues. Okay. Then you write a proposal. My proposal was 30. I submitted 2 proposals, got mentor feedback. One of my proposals was 31 pages. Second one was 18. That is too big, not needed. I've seen people with 10 pages getting accepted, but I didn't want to take any chances. So you can see in this image on the left, you have week by week timeline of what I committed to do. Okay. So yeah, that this is needed for any proposal, like a week by week timeline. So don't use AI to write this. That's a pro AI tip. So currently, I'm also I was also a GSOC mentor for 22. I have access to mentor communication. So currently, a lot of organizations received spam proposals. They just say, hey, I want to like just do prompt engineering, go to ChatGPT, write, hey, I want to get into Rocket Chat. These are the projects, write a proposal. ChatGPT writes anything without looking at the code. They hit submit, expecting that they'll get selected, but that is a waste of time. That is not useful. Okay, don't do that. So moving to the questions, I see, wouldn't they be more competitive? Yeah, of course, these programs are competitive, 2% selection rate, but if you get in, it's worth it. Did you anyhow use Assist AI writing these? So you see, I applied to 2021. ChatGPT was released in 22. So the answer is no, I did not. All of this is manually written by hand. But yeah, you guys have AI, so you can use, at least to proofread the proposal, you can use AI. That is totally fair. Then alongside the proposal, I also submitted Figma designs of the screens. This is again like a overkill. Like at the end, like when you submit your proposal, your mentor should be like, you should be like, the mentor should be crazy not to accept you. That is the kind of effort you should put in, like given your proposal and your Figma designs. And it should be like the org would be crazy not to accept you. Okay, I did this. Mileage may vary for you. And then once you do this, you'll get accepted. um, Close to 1200 contributors get accepted, total 10,000 GSOC alumni over the past 25 years. And then this is my acceptance email from GSOC 21 for my project with Rocket Chat, PolApp Mega extensions. Okay, so now within the final part, I'll just share some resources which can help you get started with open source. So having open source resources at your disposal is like a great feeling of power, right? So basically, I've categorized these into three: resources to learn, resources to build, and then finally using those resources to win. Okay. So the first resource is something called roadmap.sh, and I'll just give you a live demo of the resources. So um, so this is that website, roadmap.sh, and basically a major question is, how do I get started? Like what's the path, right? So let's say you want to learn backend, you want to be an AI engineer. This website will give you paths for doing that, right? So you go to backend. This will basically generate a chart, how to start, what's next. So you start with internet, you pick a language. So purple is like their recommended language, JavaScript, Go. Let's say I want to choose Python. I picked a language, learn about version control systems. Git, we talked about. How do you learn about relational databases? PostgreSQL is their recommendation, but you can alternatively choose one of these: MySQL, SQLite, right? So basically, this is like depending on how deep you want to go. And then if you click something, let's say I don't know what PostgreSQL is, I click on it, it will give me what PostgreSQL means, resources to learn PostgreSQL, video, text, all kinds of resources, courses to learn PostgreSQL. So this is like a very useful resource I used during my time as well, when I was undergrad. Uh, that is the first resource. Then moving to the second resource, this is more like AI research, useful. It's called Papers with Code. So basically, research that gets out and has GitHub code available, you can look at this, right? So this is like a top research, trending research right now by ByteDance. ByteDance is the company which owns TikTok. So they released a new paper which tells you how to do synthesis of like how to generate synthetic data. And then you can click paper or you can click code. If you click code, basically you can directly go to their exact code implementation. Okay, so this is a good resource to um, learn about code which has like research. You can also check the greatest top papers. So TensorFlow, which I talked about with the Google Brain guy reviewing my CR, it was this repository. And Transformers, you see DeepSeek V3 has their code open. So you can just go and look at these people's code, try to comment, talk to people. Yeah, that is useful. And then um, a A pro tip is, if you want to get really popular on GitHub, try to implement papers which do not have code. So you'll get really popular on GitHub, and you will be reached out by a lot of people if you try to implement papers without code on GitHub. The third is Hugging Face Spaces. So basically, recently there's this trend called vibe coding, where you use AI to build like apps, like a to-do app, calendar app. So this is like the directory of those kinds of apps. So there's this trend recently which got really famous, Ghibli, right? So some guy built this app and published it on Hugging Face Spaces, and then you can basically use this image and then generate a Ghibli image, or looks like I used my quota. But basically, you can generate a Ghibli image of this image, and oh yeah. So, and you can use like other tools, other people's tools, right? And you can even release your own tool to for the world to see. And if it gets really popular, again, you can monetize it, um, and try to make it big, right? Like do this full time after college. Like it'll obviously pay you more. You'll get more famous. You'll do work you love. Okay. The next resource is one of my blogs. So now we're on the winning. So you have resources which you need. Now how do you use it? So I have an entire blog series written around Google Summer of Code, which covers everything from how to get selected to what the final evaluations are like, the community bonding period, everything basically, right? So link to this is also within the presentation, which I'll share. And then another resource, so some of you I think were asking like how to write a proposal, can we use AI? So during my Google Summer of Code, I created this repository which basically includes everything I did at Rocket Chat, all videos of all features. I added all my pull requests, all issues I created, my blogs. But most important thing for you guys is this proposal which I wrote, my exact proposal, um, to GSOC. So you can read that as well. So this is my exact proposal, 31 pages, 31 pages long in total. That is also available on the presentation. And then the Figma file which I talked about, these are all the designs which I created for my GSOC project, also available on the repository. So yeah, that is also a good resource you guys can refer for GSOC. And then finally, I'd like to end with prediction. So currently, this concept of MCP, or Model Context Protocol, became famous like 3 weeks back. So what it allows you to do is your AI application can interact with APIs instead of UI. So let's say you want to order right now, you want to order food. Let's say you want to order paneer tikka from some restaurant in Surat. What do? You open Zomato, you select vegetarian, you select the restaurant, you select paneer tikka, you choose not to tip the driver, and then your order goes through, right? But with MCP, what will happen is like you can just say, "Hey Siri, order paneer tikka from restaurant near me," and Siri will interact with Zomato, and it will deliver paneer tikka to you, right? So basically, going ahead in the future, that is my prediction. We'll have fewer UIs. It will all be APIs, and AI would be more native to you, where you just ask it to do things, and it will do it, right? Send an email. Send an email is also possible right now, but more complex stuff. Invest in a stock, order food, right? Order an Uber, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that was it for this session. You can follow me on GitHub, where you can also see my work. I'm most active on Twitter. If you want to message me directly, go for Twitter. If you want to see my work, go to LinkedIn, and that's my website as well. But yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions around like academics, research, open source, higher education, FANG. So yeah, that was it. Feel free to ask any questions. We have 4 minutes left. Yeah, thanks. And you can unmute your mic if you want to. If you want to ask questions, yeah. How? What do you think is the key point to getting accepted to higher rank institutions like MIT? Mostly it's research. MIT doesn't have master's admissions. For those of you wondering, it's only PhD and bachelor's. So unless you decide to do PhD, don't think MIT. And um, like I would say, like get into try to like depends on what you want to do. If you want to go for research, um, there are a lot of good schools, MIT included. But yeah, again, depends on what you want to do. A lot of people have this like a lot of people play like status games. I went to MIT, I went to Stanford. Don't do that. Like that's not useful. Build like real value. um Going into MIT school, but that's like not, it's like getting into IIT. Okay, so what, like what's next? That is what matters. So try to get into a good school. If you're aiming for higher education, research matters, CGPA matters, internship, projects, and most importantly your SOP and letter of recommendations matter. So how CGPA matters? CGPA will matter depending on what your goal is. If you want to get into some universities, so for example, University of Southern California has USC. It's like a also like a top 25 university. They have like a cutoff of 9 pointer. But if you're looking for, but other universities may accept you depending on your research. But if you want to do like a job, then 8.5 plus is good. But anyway, it doesn't hurt, right? Like to maintain a good CGPA. Can development help us to get into FANG or DSA is a must? So right now, DSA is a must. In the future, maybe a year down the line or 2 years down the line, development will be important, super important. You cannot do without it. And don't distinguish between development and DSA. Even after you get into FANG, you're not going to do DSA, you're going to do development. So try to become a good developer, build stuff, release it out to the public, and try to monetize it. Instead of, I would say, instead of optimizing to do a job under someone, building someone else's dreams, try to build something of your own while you're in college. You have time. Um, right now, I feel a bit confused. Should I focus on CP or open source? Um, I would say in your second and first year, even third year, do open source. And when if your target is to do a job after your bachelor's, then do CP. So CP is like running a sprint. You can only run a sprint for a few meters and then you'll get tired, right? So do it when you need it. Don't do it all the time. Um, future of reinforcement learning. Um, future of reinforcement learning will be in robotics. Like my area is not reinforcement learning, so I don't know a lot, but it will be in robotics. So Figure AI is a company you can check. They are doing like good work. Even Elon Musk's company XAI, they had this robot. But yeah, uh, I don't know a lot about reinforcement learning. So what else should I do in college if I want to pursue masters abroad just after BTech? Optimize for all round experience. Like try to do a lot of projects, especially open source. Try to do quality research. Don't focus on the number of papers. Get, even if you get one paper out that is good, like that is useful, not like a namesake paper, that would help. That would be helpful. Yeah. Yeah, any other questions? Okay, I think that's it. If you want to ask questions, feel free to unmute. That is totally fine. Otherwise, I think we are good. Yeah, thanks for your time.
Okay, sir. I think there are no questions left. Thank you so much for speaking with us and for your time. Your insights were incredible, especially the pro AI tips and the predictions as well. Looking forward for more sessions in the year. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me, and all the best. Feel free to reach out on any of these platforms. Thanks.